Obviously, it seems like these airlines are doing the prudent thing to keep everyone protected. But if you're an investor in some of these names, should you be concerned about long-term material impacts to the financials if these flights are getting canceled?
I think mostly you have to worry about really just the near-term impact. When we've looked back at what happened SARS 2003, some other more recent episodes, these tend to be more of a 1, 2, maybe even lingering impact into 3 quarters. There are a couple of things to keep in mind. One of the things is, as you mentioned before, the price of crude oil has come down 10, 15%, which is a big offset for a lot of the earnings pressures that these airlines are seeing, those particularly with a lot of Asian exposure.
That's true, but also from what I understand, the cost of fuel for many of these airlines as a sort of percentage of total expenses is considerably less than it was a number of years ago. When you're looking at these different individual names, are there names that are more susceptible to a potential downturn of this virus getting worse and these flights getting canceled for the longer term?
For the longer term, I think it's anybody's guess. I mean, the first thing you'd look at is just what the exposure is, either from a revenue standpoint or how much seat capacity is going into the different markets. I mean, in the U.S., United is sort of an obvious one, and its stock prices reflected a lot of that softness. In Europe, it's really about Lufthansa, Air France, KLM. Again, these have been notably weak as of recent, so I think a lot of this is factored in. In United's case, they have a very strong network into across Asia. They also have a pretty strong unit revenue premium there. So, in somewhat of an ironic fate, having a better business in Asia is coming back to be a little bit worse for them, at least in the short term.
And Adrian, I think we talk a lot about lost business as a result of some of these impacts from the coronavirus, or some fears, things like one less trip to Starbucks or the movie theater. But if you're a business traveler, do you just put off that trip and then do it later? Or is that actually a lost trip when you're thinking about the airlines and the segments that have been sold? Is it lost for good, or does it get remade and pushed further out?
I think generally speaking, you do see some of a rebound after you see confirmation of a bottoming here, or the travel restrictions being pushed out and confidence coming back. There is going to be a little bit of bleed in terms of the trips that some people make, but in a lot of cases, to your point, those trips do happen. They just come a little bit later. So we saw that a little bit in SARS. There was a bounce back at the end of Q3 of that year of 2003. Sorry. And a little bit of a re-strengthening into the fourth quarter. So on the margin, you do see a little bit of a rebound.